So it doesn't actually look like we've done much for the next stage, but what we have done, and it takes a little while to do if you take it slowly, is this foredeck area here, and we've also got the Cabane Struts in place too. Well, they're installed; they're not exactly in place at the moment. And also, if I turn over, we've also put the underside and the chin on. That's actually all one piece, but once again takes a little bit of preparation and a little bit of patience for installing it correctly on the aircraft. So let's just put that one to one side, and we'll get our work in progress there. And as you can see, we don't have any of those parts on there, so let's get cracking. The first thing we've got to do is make the cabane struts, because they've got to be installed first before we put the foredeck on. So let me just go and get the parts for that, and we will start the process of assembling them. So the two parts we need, the two cabane struts, are P17 and P19. So let's get those cut out. There's one. And here's the other. Now these attached to the fuselage in a slightly different way to struts on other aircraft we've produced. You've got these long tabs down here, but they've each got a score that runs down sort of in the middle of that graphic there, the grey graphic, and that's where we'll be folding them. But we won't do that till later. But just to warn you, now there is a fold there. If you look carefully, closely, you can see where it is. So there we go. The first thing that we're going to do is add parts to the other side of these struts. Firstly, P18 and P20, and they are actually the reverse side of this central diagonal strut here on each set of struts. So if we just release those from the sheet, and from a numbering point of view, I would imagine that P18 goes on to P17. So let's see if I'm right. So that's P17. So let's just check. P18 does the business. There we go. Cool. Spectacular. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the area that it's going to come in contact with. Run it down there, and then we'll just pop it into place. There we go. So just press that home, turn it over, make sure we don't have any white edges poking out, but it's fairly easy to get this exactly placed. Just pop it to one side, and we'll do the next side. A lot of you looking at my very sorry looking tube of glue and think, my God, John, can't you afford a new one? But this is the great thing about this super nos, is that the glue keeps flowing even when you're down to your last little bit. One of the advantages of the super nos. So there we go. Right, whilst those are drying off, the other struts have some carbon fibre added to them for strength. So let's just grab. I've got some there, but that's from the previous build, so I'll get the fresh lot out of the bag. So this is the same stuff that we used on the leading edge of the elevator, but obviously a lot more of it. Should be about 500 mil, and that should do us for all of the rest of the work. Undercarriage, the interplane struts as well. Obviously these don't need a great deal, and it actually is, I believe, 35 or 36 mil per strut. Let's just check. No, I'm wrong. It's actually 26. No, I think probably 25 at the front. Yeah. So we could probably get away with 25 on each. So 4 pieces of 25mm long carbon fibre strip. And so I'll measure that out using my... look at that. How luxurious. I've got 2 knives, 2 scalpels. So 25 just there. So I'm just going to do that 4 times. You don't need to watch that, do you? So I've now got 4 of these little strips of carbon fibre. I'm just going to split them into pairs, and before we install them I'm just going to do a little bit of preparation on them. Essentially what I'm going to do is knock down the edge to a taper on both sides, having the taper on the same side, and that basically will help when we install it on there. When we put the sticker on, the sticker will run down the taper, and it won't have a hard edge to have to go over and try and adhere to the plastic on the underside. So if I just, with the 2, it would be more difficult with 4 in hand, so I'll just do the 2 and then we'll install them. So just putting a fairly long taper, so I've got it really shallow on the sanding stick, so I don't know whether you can see how much it's tapering, just to a sort of a point at either end. And then one of our struts here, I shall demonstrate simply just gluing the underside without the tapers on. And glue right to the ends, so it's fairly inevitable I'm going to get a little bit of glue on the fingers. And then have that running down pretty much the center of the strut. Obviously what I want to do is avoid putting it over the little rigging hole at the top here, so I don't want to cover that up. So I'm just going to leave it like so. There we go, you can see how that's oriented. and do the same at the rear too. So find the side that's not tapered. There we go, add a little glue. And then pop that down onto the rear strut, like so. And once again, at the top of the strut, there is a little rigging hole just there. That one there's for the carbon fibre brace that we've already installed. So there we go. So I'll pop that to one side. I'll do the other strut, and then we'll come back and add the stickers to the other side to hide the carbon fibre. Right, let us move on to popping the stickers on. So the stickers that we need for these 4 parts are S15, S16, S17 and S18. Now we've got to work out which ones go where. So I think the 15 and 16 set go onto this, which is the starboard side, because the carbon fibre side actually faces outwards on the build-up. So, and I think I've got them in order of placement. So S16 is at the front, S15 sits at the back here. So let's just give that a whirl. Let's get S15 off first. So you'll notice there are some little cutouts. If I bring that up there, well, you'll see it when you actually take yours off. But there's a little cutout at the top there that should allow us to keep that the rigging hole open. So it's just about placing the sticker on there. Maybe I've got it a little bit too far up. This is always a little tricky to do on camera because you need to get sort of a good eye on it. The trouble is the older that I get, the further away I have to hold things to see them. Oh dear, dear, dear. So we turn it over and we check for white lines, and then what I tend to do, it's always difficult for the sticker to go down onto the material down the side of the carbon fibre, is I actually just use the back side of a knife and, keeping it very shallow, just run it down the side of the carbon fibre underneath, just bring the sticker to bear. These are quite slender struts, so you might not always get that sticker material to stay down there, but whether it's down or not, the effect, because of the shading on it, the effect is you get that sort of rounded look of the strut. So that's not too bad. And you can actually shift it around a little bit whilst it's on there if you need to, just to get it lined up. Okay, that's cool. So S16, the hole for the rigging here is actually enclosed, so it might come off with the part of the sticker that's not supposed to be there intact. So you want to just lift that out, remove it. There we go. and that goes over the rigging hole, like so. Good. So that's all on there, and I'll do my little back of the knife trick. There we go. So that is that strut made up. Now I'll do the other one in a second. So there's a tiny little fly buzzing around. What we want to do now down at the these little joining patches is we want to bend that. I've got a bit of glue going on as well, and the fly's back. Just get rid of that glue. So you just want to crease the part at that scored line. So if I bring that up, you can hopefully go the other way, John. That's it. You can see how that goes, like so. You see, it leaves a little bit of material in the same direction as the strut, and the rest of it bends out, and you want it at about 90 degrees, like so. So let's do the other one. There we go. And then when you come to install it on the aircraft, let's just get the rigging out of the way for now. You'll notice on the fuselage along the top edge, you've got these two little cutouts there and there. They're very shallow, but that's what these go into, like so. So each one of those should be slotting down into the little divot that's been created when the fuselage has been cut out. So obviously the struts aren't going to sit out to the side like that. We're going to put another bend in this so that they sit upright. So if I just do the do and then show you, you can see how let's just get a darker background so you can see what I mean by the little sort of Z bend, if you like, in the material, like so. So that then sits into the aeroplane like so, and it shouldn't be a struggle to get those lined up in the slots that are cut in there. So literally all we have to do now is put a little bit of glue onto each of those attachment patches, like so. When I say a little glue, I've actually been quite generous here, because obviously these are structural and we don't really want them coming adrift. So put those in place. There we go. And that is how you install the Cabane strut. As you can see, the top of the plastic that sits on that little step that we created sits flush with the top of the fuselage, or it should do anyway. Here it's a little bit sticking up a little bit, but push it down and away we go. So that is how to install the struts. I'll do the other one now with the sticker material. So we've got S17 and S18 to go on there. Then we've got to do a little bit of Z bending, and I'll pop that one on the other side. So now we've got the Cabane Struts on. Let's just pop our rigging in a safe place. We can turn our attention to the foredeck. So let's just put that to one side for now. We're going to need our score guide, and let's just clear the decks and bring on Z8. There we go. So Z8, I've got that the wrong way up, sits on there, and we'll tape it down. Before we do that, we've got a little bit of beveling, just a very upright bevel, not too much, just along the sides here as it comes down at a slight angle onto the sides of the fuselage. So there we go. And also, whilst I'm at it, we might as well just knock down the edge that is going to be presented where the leather edge of the cockpit is. So just knock that down, reducing that white edge. So let's pop that in place, and I'm just going to tape that down. There's my tape. So I'm going to be fairly generous with this, and obviously put it where the scoring is not. Like so. And then with my enormous scoring tool, I'm going to score away. Now once again, when you're scoring, when you get to the end, just lighten up slightly so you don't put the tip of the blade through the material and cut it slightly. It keeps going. The scoring and beveling guide, the gift that keeps on giving. There we go. get this off the sheet. And then we can prepare it. So just get all those scores creased, like so. It's more compliant, and then also crease down this edge too. There we go. Right. Now, I'm going to grab the wrong one then. So this, we can actually push these out a little for now, get them out of the way. But then we can dry fit our parts to make sure they all sit where they're supposed to. And obviously the leading edge of the foredeck part that we're putting on should come up to the bulkhead here with our little braces on and the little plastic part that we put on right at the beginning. So now, depending on how this has been installed, will basically determine whether you need to trim any material off the back edge here. And I can see when I've got this part right up to the bulkhead that I've got a very small amount of material that I could actually remove from there. So I'm gonna remove a tiny piece and then try again. Yeah, so that seems to have, maybe I can just sand a little bit more off. Just to make sure we have a good fit. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. And also I'll do a check on the other side too. Well, that seems okay without any mucking around. So what I'm going to do is add some glue to all of the areas that it's going to come into contact with. On one side to start off with, so we're going to do our sort of two-part trick. So all along the top of the fuselage there, and up the side of the bulkhead, and across the top keel part, and then down the other side too, and then just continue that along the top edge of the fuselage. So, and then just a little bit at the back here where the two parts come to meet in the middle of the cockpit. So there we go. And I shall also add some glue along the side that's going to come into contact. Like so, and along there, and then also at the edge there where it's going to. I haven't talked about these notches yet, but it's fairly obvious that obviously they accommodate the carbon fibre bracing that we've already installed. So there we go. So we'll let those two parts dry, and then we shall bring those parts together, and hopefully they'll stick together without us having to hold them or tape them. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, so let's hope our glue is somewhat dried, and let's get this together. So I'm just making sure that the slot goes over the carbon fibre first, and then let's get that edge down, and then get everything seated. Okay, so it's just a matter of pressing this down into place now so that it holds, and I think what I will do is actually put a little bit of tape on there just as an added bit of security. Go. Then use the plethora of tools that I have, including the back of the knife, which I do favour, just to get this pressed into place. Got a little bit of beading of glue, which is fine. Of course, the other tool you can use, which is even better, is the ball tool. So we'll just sort that edge out. Just press the foam down a little so that it matches the coving of the turtle deck. Good amount of glue came off there, that's good. So as you can see, I'm pressing right down into there, and it's bringing those two parts together, and also making sure that there's a nice smooth transition between the two as well. So that's nice. Just make sure that's pressed, and of course I can press down through the tape. And now this strut is in place, it's nice and secure, so I'm not worried about that flapping open like so. And then obviously we'll just move this material through, and it should come down the other side. Obviously we haven't glued yet, but we can just check and make sure that everything is coming together as we want it to. The part should fit nicely. It's been designed to anyway, so it should come down, neatly match up to the fuselage on the other side as well. You might need to sort of add a little bit of force just to make sure that it comes down where it should, but that should get you there. So what we'll do now is just add some more glue to the other side. Get that strut out of the way, and then just add the glue where it's needed. A repeat of the other side, really. Go, and then I can also add it to the part that we're attaching. There we go. So once again, we'll let that dry for some time, probably 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll push it down into place. Okay, let's get the rest of this deck on. So obviously getting that carbon into that slot first, and then slowly working the part down onto the top of the fuselage. And I left it a little bit longer this time for the glue, so it's just grabbed beautifully there. And then we can do our magic trick with our ball. So and get that extra glue that's beaded up off too. Just making sure the gaps are closed. And then once this is on, the additional thing you can do, because you may have noticed the bulkheads have got a kind of a scalloped portion to them, is, let's get this pressed down, is we can obviously press the deck down onto the scallop there, but that scallop then runs sort of along the material too, so we can just, using the ball tool, just add, sometimes you don't even see it really, but just by running the ball tool down there and on the other side too. There we go. Right, just got a little bit of fettling to do here. Let's go with the smaller ball tool. Just press that together. There we go. So that is our foredeck on. And the other bit that we can do while we're here, and before we put things like the top wing on, is we can just put the windshield in place. It just consists of two parts, one of those being a sticker and the other one being a plastic part. So the plastic part is P25, just there, and let's just release that. And S29, which looks exactly the same, so it should be pretty much exactly the same, apart from the little spike at the bottom. Oh. And so one should fit over the other, so you get the same effect either side. Like so. And then that can then be placed. You'll notice there's a little bit of a slot cut in the top there already, and that should just accommodate that spike, and that can be pressed down into place, and it has a slight backward rake to it, like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push through on that slot just to make a little bit extra room so it's not pushing back up at the spike, and then I'll just add a little bit of glue. There we go, and then just pop that into place like so. There we go. So that was a pretty easy part of the installation. So now what we're going to do is concentrate on putting on our lower part of the fuselage over the lower wing and the chin. Okay, let us clear the decks a little. That can go over to one side, or we will need our beveling and scoring guide, if just to look at, and we are going to be using part Z11. So let's just get that off the sheet, like so, and then as you can see on our scoring and beveling guide, we have Z11 represented there. The scores are pretty obvious though. They literally go down the protrusion there and on that side, and I'm actually going to do those first, and I am actually going to do those freehand, I guess you'd call it. So literally, what I'll do is I'll just, because it's quite bright for filming, it's quite difficult to see white on white. Let's change that. There we go. Oh, that's easier. So just score those tabs at the side there. They're the bits that fold up underneath the wing. So there we go. So they eventually fold up like that, and the rest, as you'll see on the beveling and scoring guide, the rest of the surface or edge is beveled at around about 45 degrees. So we can work that, not at the end there, that's left open, but we can start the process. As you can see, these smaller areas require a little bit of attention. I'm using my thumb to support the material and then just dragging one way with the sanding stick. So I'm using my finger there to support the material. It doesn't take long to get the desired angle. There we go, and the rest of it I will just move my way around, getting in that 45 degree, and well, I'll carry on with this. Once again, you don't have to watch this, I'm sure you get the gist of it, and I'll come back once the part is fully sanded. So I've been all around the part there. There is an element that I'd just like to do that makes this whole folding process easier. As you can see, I fold them up but they go straight back down again. If I bend them the other way and then just take out a bit of material like so, don't go crazy, you don't want to go all the way through, but then that makes the fold a lot easier, so that when the glue grabs, it's not pulling away too hard. So there we go. Good. So this part exists on the base just there. Now I've got a little bit of a tab there still protruding, so just take that off, because obviously that prevents that sitting flush against the edge of our fuselage part. So that sits there, and then you should be able to fold that all the way over to the front there. You might need a little bit of encouraging to go down, but that's where we want it to go. and those fold in to the sides like so. So what I'm going to do is, I'll leave that up that way, just add glue to the surfaces that are going to come into contact. Just clear my nozzle. So obviously on the edges here and on this side too. Obviously across the back as well. And then the central keel as well, we can give a little bit, and the central rib too, and across the brace and down the edge of the brace as well, because obviously when we fold our tabs over, they'll come into contact with that brace. So down there, and then all around the nose area too. Like so. Go, and then I'll do a little bit down the keel and across the former as well. So we can let that dry, and whilst that is drying, we can also add some to the other side of the surface as well, all around the edge. There we go, and at the end too. And the other place we need to put it is just along the edge of the tab that'll come and sit against the wing. Like so. There we go. So we'll let all of that dry off, and then we'll use the contact adhesive properties of the dry glue to bring those parts together. Oh, there was one area that I didn't glue that I should do, and that is just down those creases, so that when they do come together, there's a little bit of extra oomph there to hold them together, hopefully. There we go. Okay, right. Let's get this done. So, let's start at the back here. And obviously, because it's grabbing, we've got to make sure we position it well. And then I'll do these a little bit later, once I've got this nose part on. So I'm just pressing these two edges together. There we go. Mine's needing a little bit of work at the nose here. It's funny, the one I did previously was absolutely bang on, but that's not going to be a problem. What we can do is, obviously with our ball tool, we can start just manipulating those edges together. And in the tighter spots, we can actually use either the back of the knife, like so, or the handle, just to bring those parts together. And then use the ball tool just to apply pressure. So you can see they come together now those white edges disappearing. If we need to increase the pressure, we can use the smaller ball tool. Some of the glue beading off. Bit more glue beading off. Go. Any glue that's stuck on the ball, just remove it, obviously, because it'll go and redeposit itself. And then I'll just work this edge just to bring those bits of foam together, like so. And I can always come and revisit it at a later date, because obviously the glue has still got that tackiness to it. Go. Obviously the foam's not rigid either, so it can be moved around a little bit. Let's not forget our bits back here too. We best use the smaller ball for those. They seem to be pretty well placed anyway. There we go. And then let's just fold these sides down as well. It should all fit into place nicely. Once again, we can use our tools just to press them home. Obviously apply pressure so that they tuck up into the wing too. And then any excess glue be wiped away. There we go. Excellent. Super. Well, there we go. We've got the nose on as well. So I think that probably concludes the processes that we've gone through on both aircraft now. So yeah, okay, well, we'll wrap that one up there, and then we'll move on to the undercarriage. And I think it's also a good time to start to create the hatch as well before we put the top wing on. It gives us a little bit of room to develop it a little bit better than we would with the top wing being in the way. So there we go.